I would just say in general, anyone can take the course and complete it and do exactly like you've said. Your framework is beyond anything I've ever seen. And to be able to utilize it on so many platforms and so many business ideas, it's definitely something I've never saw before.
But yeah, just tell me your experience of the Solopreneurs Prosperity Intensive from your point of view and your experience, because you kind of came in not having a business, not having a niche, not having a lot of the marketing or business language. So your experience is really unique because some people had some kind of idea or some kind of struggle that they were really like they've been trying this for years and not having any of the framework to build on. And you're like you just like walked through the door with like, yay, I want to do this. So you have a really unique experience. So why don't you share it to the best of your ability?
So definitely everything was eye-opening because I had never really, I mean, I was drawn to it, but I hadn't ever thought how to go from, I mean, I didn't even know what niche was or having an avatar. So going and then really truthfully developing them, and then with your help and the class's help of, choosing three and then doing the one that scares you the most, that is very, very scary. And so for myself, really having to learn and dig and understand every single thing. It was completely new to me. And um, not knowing, like, I mean, any of it. And so, really taking the courses has helped completely, and not having to overthink and really just focusing on what you're saying and doing the assignments.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so you didn't have an avatar or a niche before, but you have a better understanding of that now.
Absolutely. I definitely have the one that I'm doing now, but I have several more that I'm able to use as time goes on.
That's awesome. And then you learned about messaging too, right? Like how to talk about what you do in the world and
Yes, that was really, really neat because our perspective of what we do and how we want to say versus the way it's interpreted is really hard, because we don't realize we don't put ourselves back into the spot of where we started. And I know for myself, it's really teaching ones that I um, I had to learn. And so putting myself back in time and really thinking about and really bringing in that simpler form and not necessarily so overwhelming for an individual, that's where I had to really think about and using the terminology and having you help us do our framework completely like it needs to be, and being presentable definitely helped.
yeah. And what how was your experience about creating your product? Because you didn't have any kind of product, you didn't have any idea. Maybe you had some ideas, but how was your experience of the purge and then putting everything that you purged together?
So again, thinking back to where I started, you know, in my life at that time frame, leaving Jehovah's Witnesses and going through a whole life change for myself. So what did I learn and what did I go through that would really help someone else? And so I hadn't really thought about that before. So you really have to dig deeper in order to go through that purge. And it all kind of comes together. You have a lot, I mean, the purge is really hard because it's scary at the beginning to think about, but when it all just comes at you and you just are ready, it really does just flow. It's something that you don't really think about or can even really do until that point. And your course definitely, if you would have said we're doing a purge today in the beginning, there's no way, but definitely putting it where it was and what we were learning about our product already or how we were going to um, demonstrate it and bring it as a course to others. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. And can you see how you could use that process to basically create any new program that you want to do, right? Like you could say, I want to help people decorate, or I want to help, help people heal in this way or that way. And you could really create multiple products just with that same formula.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, so the third layer unanimously was, I think, the hardest for everybody because they just created the program and then they're learning about content and how to put themselves out there. And I know that your understanding of like the nurture campaigns and the lead forms and funnels and then sales is like before. What was it before? Would you say on 0 to 10, what was your knowledge around that?
I'm probably a two. I had customer service, but it was definitely more in person and then follow-up emails or meeting with clients. So to put it on just like social media platform or um, being able to develop that from scratch on any social form at all, I've never done any of that. So it's all definitely learning.
Yeah. And what do you think your knowledge is better? I know that you like until we get in there and do it and you're like have everything built out. Where do you think your knowledge is now, just based
My
on?
my knowledge and understanding is at a 7 or 8. It's definitely I can do it. It's just, and it has nothing to do with the course. It's about me, myself. It's just trusting the process. And that's probably where if I just did exactly like you've said, create a content every single day or just run with it, I would definitely be at a 10.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Um, so is there anything else? I do have a couple more questions, but is there anything else just about like the framework that you want to add, that off the top of your mind that you haven't said already, just as far as how helpful it was for you?
I would just say in general, anyone can take the course and complete it and do exactly like you've said. Your framework is beyond anything I've ever seen. And to be able to utilize it on so many platforms and so many business ideas, it's definitely something I've never saw before.
That's awesome. And one thing I've been asking everybody is about the community because I felt that was a really integral part of the learning experience. What do you think about that?
The community platform in itself is great. I forget to use it as much as I should. However, having the community as a whole or being in a group together, that was amazing. And they're still dear friends of mine. But as far as, are you talking about just the community that
Just the
we're,
community of not necessarily the online platform, but just the
okay.
community of all of us coming together and learning together. And
It's amazing. Like being able to just have like-mindedness and I think being able to have each person, they're at their own progress and they bring so much to the table and to the class, and we get to learn from each other and all together be able to learn primarily from you.
yeah, yeah, I found that I mentioned this probably in some of the course, but I would show up never knowing what I didn't know. And when you don't know what you don't know, you don't know what questions to ask.
Exactly.
So like when other people are in other places, they're asking the questions. So it's like such a dynamic learning experience, I feel like, in the group setting.
Agreed.
Yeah. Um, Another thing that I heard about from like the group was the accountability, just by showing up for everybody, not just yourself.
Agreed.
You felt like that helped a lot with accountability.
Yes, I definitely did.
Yeah. And then I guess the last question that I have is I know that some people in the group said this, and I was kind of like this 2 years ago, but like addicted to doing and
Mhm.
not really merging the being and the doing together. And when I started to try to build a business, I was just doing all the wrong things because I wasn't being me. I was like, I wasn't in a space of like presence and like awareness. I was just taking random actions that seemed like they should work, but didn't. So what is your experience with like the doing and the being combination in the course? Because it really, the being who you are and being who all of us are, but then applying what you learn and doing that part of it. I felt like, in my opinion, that's where I saw all of you guys just like soar and take off was like application, but also really tapping into who you are too. So, what was your experience with that?
Absolutely agree. So I think in general, we live in a world that wants to mimic each other. And so whenever we have to think about ourselves, it's hard to just be ourselves sometimes. And then being able, yeah, we get stuck in the doing and what was the other word that you used? I'm sorry.
Being.
Being. Doing and being. I think we get stuck in that because we lose a lot of ourself in that time period and we don't really trust ourselves. We don't trust the process. And so, especially in the course, I would say that that's one of the biggest things that I took away from the course is I don't always have the answers to be able to put it right in front of me, but I definitely have everything that gives me that answer. And so just being able to trust it and to put it where it needs to be put and to let it sit there even, but not get in our own way.
Yeah, that's well said. That's well said. And I'm glad you're able to find that part of yourself that can trust. Because I think that unanimously, that's something I've heard from everybody is that they're relaxed, they're trusting the process, they're not stressed out, they're just taking, one step or, just kind of letting it unfold. And it seems to make a more pleasurable experience to building a business than I think they thought it was before. It's like, stress and overwhelm. And that was the state of a lot of people. And now it's just so much simpler, you
I
know?
agree. I think that really showed up when we had to go through the third part with the purge. Because in the beginning, we were presenting ourselves as we wanted everybody to see, per se. We would overthink. And yes, the material was, in comparison to everything, was a little bit more simpler for myself. Even though it took a lot to understand, being able to, just fill in the answers or give a one sentence. Now we're in the third part of the course and we're having to really flow with it and not really time to overthink. And so we are able to just be ourselves. And that I would say was revolutionary for the whole um, group and as an individual. Because, I mean, if you look at the beginning just of our videos, if you rewatch them, just seeing that, we had an idea, but by that purge, we were like, oh my word, we were so amazed with ourselves and our group. And I think that's really where we became united and as a family of understanding and really just pushing each other and helping each other.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It was really interesting because everybody's energy was very separate, right? Like when everybody showed up, it was very separate in their own kind of realities and their own worlds. And then everybody merged as a collective and it was just very blended. And then everybody had to like separate again because they found like where they stood, right? And their creativity. And I thought that was really cool to see. Um, because I saw everybody's, no, I've always seen everybody's potential, but I saw like that creative spark and everybody start to like get brighter and brighter and brighter. And then, I think most of you came up with like 3 or 4 different program options or, and that was just in the time that you had to even think about like, what do I want to create? So that
Yes.
was really cool. And then everybody, even though standing in their own individuality was coming together again with new stuff. I thought that was like probably one of my favorite parts of the course. And then watching everybody just be in flow is like, and myself too, I learned a ton. So yeah, that was really cool.
I agree, especially, in the beginning of listening to the different niches and avatars that ones were sharing. I was like, what in the world do they do? And then, I mean, a couple of them were particular, and just watching them grow and um, I completely understand now. And I'm like, yeah, sign me up for it. So I completely agree. It's just amazing. Definitely a great program.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, one of the things I've experienced too is like making a decision and sticking to it because I've had a lot of different programs and, I've marketed them and I've put myself out there and I've always wondered like, is this the right thing? Is this enough to help people in the way I want to? And I found that combination of like spirituality and business and my mind is like constantly separating and merging the two and like that dance. But once I decided, like, okay, I'm just going to stick with this and I'm just going to let it roll until it doesn't roll anymore. And I'm just going to do what I'm teaching you guys, be consistent, share what I know, share what's in my heart, share what I find helpful and what I want to teach people. Um, it feels like momentum, but really that space, like I said, where you plant it in yourself and your creativity sparks, like that spark grows. In my experience, it's really cool because, and I wish that the group were like further along to experience it, but your energy gets even bigger, right? And it's like, then all of a sudden you're all over the place and people are like responding to emails and they're like, how do I work with you? Where do I find you? This is really helpful. And then you're kind of getting the feedback. And I want to say that it feels good because then it just feels like, oh, you're on the right track. Oh, I am helping people. Oh, people do need this. Like everything that you guys worked for, once you start applying, especially with the content and the nurturing and stuff, it just pays off in ways that it's like, wow, there really is a need for this. It really is a way that I can serve people. So I just wanted to share that with you because that's been my experience. So I'm really excited to like whatever way you guys are going to get there, right? I'm excited to see you get there.
I love it.
Yeah. You dug so deep into what you're offering that it's like, I help these women or I help these people get out of here and make a new life for themselves. So it's very clear. So I just
It is,
wanted to share that with you.
I appreciate that. It is very clear. I felt like a little scary clear. And but I've been, I mean, in the beginning. Now I'm definitely understanding and I see it. And then just seeing in the different groups that I'm in and how people are, there's just they take offense to a lot as Jehovah's Witnesses. And so seeing how I am able to help different ones and having just being able to answer and giving them content in general, even if it's just what I went through, sharing my story or whichever, it it's crazy. It definitely is. So I agree. It's something that I never thought I'd have enough courage to do.
What was your scared level when you first were like putting this program together?
I can't do it.
You were
But
like, no, right?
well, because I mean, it really is. It's hard. That's become your whole life for so long. And then you're the door shuts and now you're saying, like, in the beginning I felt like I was saying bad things about them, and that wasn't truthful and that wasn't my thoughts really. It was just that's what I was scared of, that somebody was going to target me or say something horrible. But it's nothing like that. It has everything to do with who you are as a person and what, um when you think about being an individual and what Jehovah's Witnesses offer in that lifestyle versus there's so much more to life. And that in itself, going from being a Jehovah's Witness and being a very obscured life to now being able to be Hattie and be confident in myself has taught me a lot. And so, yes, in the beginning, when I was thinking about it all, I was scared to death. Like, how the heck am I going to do this? Laura wants me to do what? I remember my whole first video, like, I was scared to death to post that thing. And then seeing all the reactions, so many people, and that guy, he's like, can we do this for men too? So, just it made me think, like what you were saying, it's exactly what people need and what I needed to be able to bring to them.
Yeah. And you give a lot of people hope too, right? Just knowing that that there is another life available. Like a lot of people don't do that, you know?
Right.
or they don't see that. They don't know that. And then they're like, oh, wait, I don't have to be here forever because you're kind of leading by example. You're like carrying the torch for everybody else to break out into um different realities and different lives for themselves. So what is your level of scared now? It was off the charts when you put the program together, but what is it now like? Is it
It's
on the 0 to 10
oh
scale?
yeah. Um, I'm not really scared. I'm more excited to share because there's that hope of being able to influence or to help ones feel go from stuck to being able to live a life that they want. So, yeah, I would say probably out of two or three, just because there's some people that are stuck in the trauma mind, and those are a little bit harder for me. But as far as in a whole, me being able to give my content and being a coach and helping different ones, oh yeah, I got it. I can do it.
That's awesome. And one of the things that I found too was, like I said, as soon as someone identifies their self as like a soulpreneur or a light worker and they start entertaining that language, they've entered into my realm of like, I'm going to be spiritual and I'm going to be logical, and it may or may not make sense to you at first, but I realized that entrepreneurs that come to me, if they just think that I'm teaching business, they're like, what is all of this? What's all this depth? I don't want this. I just want someone to tell me what to do. And I want the framework and I want it exactly the way that I need to do it. And I don't want to find myself and I don't want to dig deeper. I just want to, and like, that's not this program. That's not what I do. That's not even what I want to do. So with my content and with the things that I put out there, that I'm trying to filter all those people out, right? So there might be a way for you to filter out the people like that are going through the trauma mindset still. It's like, let me send them over here and watch this video, and this is how they know that they're ready to join my program or something like that. Um, I've noticed that whatever we create has just a way of coming to life. Like we think that we're responsible for all the planning and all the working things out, but in reality, we're not. Like it just has like it grows legs and just starts walking. And it's our job to follow the cues and to apply and do where we see. So I think that you're on the right track. I feel like as soon as you're like, okay, I'm ready now, like I've entered a space where I can be consistent and I want to, put myself in a different space, then you'll just take off, because a lot of people need the help that you're offering. And I noticed that there's not a ton of people offering it, right? Because there's a lot of that beingness in business where the framework is a framework that is created. It's not a law, like there are some principles in there, but the space where we're each coming from has a lot of the answers. And I think when it comes to building a business, especially, I know you understand this because we're so much alike, but like it's a lot of the self-development, but not waiting to be perfect while you're building. But also having the other perspectives of, am I in my own way, or am I, how can I move to the next step type thing?